Hello and welcome to Presence Dialogues. My name is Joe Diamo. A presence dialogue is an approach to communication in which participants tune into a frequency of consciousness, a quality of listening beyond the personal level, with the accent on the novelty of the present moment. We tap into a field in which we are at best conduits for the deeper intuitive intelligence of the heart. And my guest again is Annam. And the topic, which doesn't have to stay the topic, but the topic that is coming up for me right now the most is identity, who we are, who I am, but not in the sense of who I am, but what is the reality of my being? Because for me, I can see, in certain moments more and other moments less, that I am the context for the content of consciousness. So I'm not the content of consciousness. I have an experiential feeling for that right now, where who I am is the consciousness that sort of contains all this content of body, speech, and mind. And there's no seeming limit to it. It doesn't seem to have a limit. It seems to be very peaceful, very expansive, and empty.
We have no real way to know this. So there's something like a big brain, us, and a very tiny pea mind that doesn't even have a full, legitimate reason to call itself even a hybrid of the very unspecial God level, ordinary God level. It was called to my awareness first. Let's talk about that before I continue. The ordinary God level, obviously, is something we won't understand easily. It's just isness that is not seeking, not trying to outdo itself. It's just isness, having no particularly good time, nor thus no envy about something it hasn't done yet. It's just a field of what is. That's the ordinary. The less ordinary is what we want to touch. We want to have an entrance into what makes us feel extraordinary, what makes us feel spectacularly won by this greatness nature. We have a limit to how would we call this? How we might retrieve this holiness. The only thing that can help us believe in it is the greatness felt. So, looking for an example, if we have a balloon in our hand that is empty of air, it doesn't mean anything to us. If it's filled up and it's held in tension for a moment and released, it is quite a wind in our face, and we are quite sure this is an extraordinary happening. We were starting to take a gamble on actually understanding a term called ordinary God, and another term called an extraordinary interest in love, finding out that we are exceptional and coming to pal around in us and say, you are appropriate for the word to come through. We want to be linked to the heavenly, and the only way that we're able to be sure of this is if it feels powerful in us.
Can we say that these are two different experiences of higher self,
Yes.
two different levels? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The extraordinary mind of God is love, and love is wholeness without veils and without thereby individuality in it. It doesn't look about for differences. It uses the entirety. When we talk about our design, we each have one. It's more, what do we fit to of the whole? What's our place in the entirety? So that we're not pulled out and noticed as special. We're simply a specialized instrument made for a very definitive power of observation or use. And that's as much as I could really say. When, however, we are comforted by the luck of, almost the luck of the draw, the luck of the stunning that happens on occasion when love comes and fills us up and we actually meet the partner in us we call the Christ. Some do anyway, or some call the Buddha. When we are lucky enough to feel that, we have achieved enough openness. And this conversation is more than about how to be unflawed. Thus, love can come and suit our then perfect, ordinary mind of love and help us simply be God in service here on this planet. That's our very specialized way of wording it. And we don't ever have an easy time trying to defend for the individual unless the person is sure he or she is destined to be in link with a grand all that surprises us at the end by not making us important, just using us well.
Aren't we all destined at some point to reach that?
I would think so. Whether we can, let's just say there's a limit on it, having a body.
Isn't grace also a factor?
You know, that's an interesting term, and I don't use the word grace because I'm sure that it's all a part of how we show up in the moment. And whether we have incurred a certainty in us that we are definitive tools somehow. You know, we are certain players in a great way of doing things. And then you could say the luck of the moment finds us and uses us well, or we are visited in some manner. But often, and I won't say much on this, often we are visited and very little comes of it. We just feel the pressure of doing something well from then on. And when we are not visited regularly, we wonder if we have failed. I would bet that what we are calling grace is more like a test. We have to only make the moment very truly, very clearly what we're about to be born in. And I know that if we choose to call the moment with this great big M, right? If we recognize the moment as the eternal now, it's in fact Another way to tell it is the eternal now rating us for who is the divine prime energy, not its intelligence yet, but the carrier of love, who will carry love. If we carry love without our mind trying to see to it, our destiny precludes that we are here as a design, and we are definitely made well. Both that means healthy-minded and actively made to work this moment caringly and see to its goodness and function. But I'm pretty sure an ordinary man, an ordinary woman who just rolls up their sleeves like the firemen are doing, standing on the front line and doing whatever they can to see to the moment thoroughly, just putting themselves out there, they're the real ones whose designers is going to be right there. They're who they are has to appear. Their intelligence, their need to be connective in their alertness. It needs to be here. And what we are is very well disguised alertness. We're alert to the things that we are ignorant in, but we don't know what to do with them. So the way to recognize who's in disguise, who's trapped inside of a brain who disguises everything with ideas, is in fact, let's do it as the way to release ourselves from that disguise is to make sure that nothing is seen without love looking. You just know who you are, but you don't even think, oh good, I know who I am at long last. Because it's so obvious and it feels ordinary. Now we're there at that ordinary. This is the ordinary love that just envelops the now. It doesn't cast us out nor make us special, but it does make sure we're fully awake, aware, and useful. Fully here.
It makes sure we are?
Yes. If we are love, love makes sure this instrument is well. I mentioned that a few moments ago. It makes us well so we can survive our thought-based panic and frustrations and uncertainties and just show up. Truly. No make-believe. And then there are no traps. Love makes us recognize the traps where our ignorance and our ego's ignorance is what's meant by that.
What's coming up for me is that it doesn't seem like, and it's a basic question, it doesn't seem like we can make love happen. So if this something comes to inform us to act in a certain way, we may not have, that love might not be there. Is that possible? That love might not be there, and there's maybe something we can do to just open to it?
If we're not love constantly, we may only be the intelligence of our philosophy at the times when we are needed to be kind. So it's not a turn on, turn off kind of love. It's there is no other manner in which we could respect our name of being without love being what guards us from deficits of mind. Love must make sure, as I again repeat, that we are well. And if we know that we are thinking about doing the right thing for that woman, we are not love yet. Surprisingly, it's a tricky, let's call this in a sterner version, there's a trickster mind saying, I'm going to do the right thing. And it may very well do a kind thing. And then you could say, grace, make sure that you're visited by the angel and it overwhelms you, and you know this is God's work when we are kind. But it's still the human, not the exact who you are. It's the human in the prison of I can help you. I'm sure this is a surprise because we're obviously someone who could give a handout. I could give you a sugar cane and your sweet tooth would stop craving for a moment. And it's a person giving you the sugar cane. However, it doesn't last. And the giving of the rescue of oneness, it doesn't go away. Even if I turn and walk somewhere else, it doesn't leave you. You never stop believing you are in link with me. In that love nature I am. The mind may wonder, where'd she go? But the core knows you have met the death of vanity when love approaches. Love is, you could call it perhaps the grace you mentioned. Love is what is not gray matter. Kind of a good pun there, good play for words, not gray matter.
Okay. So if we could go back to the ordinary God, and what are we going to call it? Extraordinary God or Advent of love.
Yeah.
Right. Because what I experience is a lot is that maybe that ordinary love, the isness that you talked about in meditation or just right now, for instance, just feeling this expansiveness and this inner, there's a sense of inner calm and that I'm not this person that's talking. There's something other than that. And there is a sense of isness. Mm-hmm. Just is, that's it. No effort, nothing. So is it just a matter of staying there for this other, call it for lack of a better word, level to break through?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, okay. That's quite perfect.
That's what I would call grace because I'm not doing anything but holding the space.
I like that.
So it's some
I
other
finally
will.
like the use of the word grace.
Like
That's
it.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's almost like it is a different will or a different intention, not my ego intention. Yeah.
It has. And then it's a very graceful link in, right? You know, just
Right. Right.
Does it. The pieces match.
Does it all have to do with how ready one is? Or is it just the intention of that being that we are, that love being, that universal being? Is it just the intention of it to come into you? Or is it is it a combination of your intention as well? Because there are so many classic examples of, St. Paul is the most classic example. I mean, he's on a horse. He's ready to kill Christians. All of a sudden, bang! I chose you to carry my message and to bear my cross. I mean, what? He didn't seem to have anything, at least in this lifetime, to do with that. Like it just seemed like the intention just grabbed somebody that may be suited to do the work, regardless of whether you have asked for it or not.
I would support this as a kind of a finding, but from a different lesson. We are not sought, we are constantly kept within love. When love looks directly in us, because we have a moment where we accentuate this one we're with. Love finds us and kicks the old mind out of the way, out of the spell. That was an extraordinary meeting. He had no further way to be seen than to be just regarded deeply, innocently by the one who could not imagine Paul failing this meeting. So if we are sure you cannot fail this meeting, we can look deeply through the veils of mind. And what is looking through the veils of mind is not an individual. It's the whole looking. So pronouns start to leave. And it's not, how do I make myself available? Because that's still too limiting, too ego framing. We're just available because we're part of an entirety. We're kindred to oneness.
It's easy to forget that, isn't it?
Yes, it's very obvious.
Oh,
We don't
yeah.
recall it. We don't recall
Right.
it in the next moment.
Right.
We recall that our toe itches.
That's clear, yeah.
And it seems very important to go scratch it.
Definitely.
We could just do that and not leave the entirety.
Right. Yeah. So this time period right now, there's a lot going on in terms of the weather, but do you see this weather as inside as well as outside? I mean, if there is no inside outside, is it a synchronicity of occurrence, or one occurrence happening simultaneously within one and within the world?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
There's an astronomy. There's a connection with all of the powers of forces that are around our personal planet. And the astronomy is at that moment where it's whirring about in a unique manner. And as well, there are forces that are lesser powers, and they can stir we would almost think of it as magically stir the energies to have more anti-love force in them, to make it so that whatever's happening makes us feel limited. So I tell you this carefully. There are forces within. They are not mind of one. They are mind of a different unity. A unity, you were mentioning, you saw the film The Matrix, a unity that keeps us uniquely bound and put inside of hobbies and habits and made to feel the doldrums and the violences of every second. And then when we hit an actual earth storm, or there's solar flares, Zoom doesn't open properly, we feel a bit of despair at not knowing how to correct it all. Let's go to what our only real prayer is. It's still the same. It's really to love the vaster nature of our awareness, which puts us at an interesting and different meaning of astronomy. We settle inside of the holy I am, where there are souls, and in that meaning, solar lights, souls moving us as soul, not as human yet. If we choose to believe we are love, then we are souls merged with many souls. And there is a confounding at first, when we recognize this is where we activate our real identity in the soul realm, we are our real nature's identity. And we're not sure ever when we attend from there that it's going to matter to the people who are around us. So we're going to need to turn our soul affinity to the holy, to the higher levels, to the holy solar wellness agencies we call angels, and listen for what they are downpouring to us. And then, you could say second, manifest what the orders are, what the duty is. And when we're doing that, if we're in the violence of a fire or a hurricane or a war or a terrorism attack or simply an earthquake, things of life, poverty, all the difficulties of the earth, we can mitigate our mind so it does not try to hate this side of things, and instead postpone all fear. So we just do what's here to do. I can say that this is a different time, that there's a lot going on, and it's pretty obvious with the global warming. We're just at the beginning of much disturbances. But that's not going to make us able to partner this moment. I've been telling people that there is an obvious eye of the hurricane within us too, that our mind is a hurricane. It's always storming around the center point, but the center is calm. If there's love, that calm is on duty. If there's just self-interest, that calm is evil.
Mm. Does one go beyond, in that state, does one go beyond, let's say, the laws of that dimension, planetary dimension, astrological, astronomical dimension?
I don't know what you asked. I'm sorry. Does one go beyond it?
Yeah, because there's one, in other words, because it has the power, obviously, to, if we're not centered, if we're not in that holy space, to affect us powerfully.
Oh, I see.
See,
Yes,
but if
yes.
then we might be free on
Mhm.
another level.
Yes,
Those
it's a transmigration. We go first of all to the whole within, all that's ordering everything and spinning it all about in some vast way. It's not the word way. It's
I know.
I was looking for the actual words. So some vast array of hibernating forces that without our calm, without our love in that calm, will just disturb everything we have going for us. Our gifts, our astuteness goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So we can also look at all the forces as hibernating energies only. They're waiting to be discerned and used well, but only can this occur when we have that volume of yes, that strength of I am that I am, and the love to go with it. And then the forces can be used uniquely to just withstanding them or trying to calm them down.
So those forces become, we could say, awakened within the I am consciousness.
They're awakened within that's a fine way to say it. We can just leave it that way.
Okay.
They're awakened within the holy I am.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Okay, that sounds like a wonderful ending
All right.
to a wonderful download. Thank you so much again,
Welcome.
and good luck with everything. And
Oh, thank you.
talk
Yes.
soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And for Presence Dialogues, my name is Joe Diamo, talking to Annam. Thank you, and stay tuned.